Since I was very, very young, I had the closest thing I've ever had to a voice in my head. But it's not something I heard. It's more like an imaginary guiding spirit. Like, to say I heard it, not with my ears, but with my mind. And the same way someone imagines a song and imagines a voice of a friend, that's the same way this voice would come to me. Every time I would do something wrong, every time I would fuck something up, every time I would think something stupid, I had this voice in my head. It was an old man's voice. And he would tell me, no, you can't do that way. You have to do it like this. No, you can't go thinking that, Sonny. This is the proper way to be. I didn't know an old man with a voice like that. Not sure if I had seen one on a cartoon or something. But one day, I was looking up at the clouds, reflecting on a very profound experience I was having with my dreams seeming to unpack some sort of level of knowledge that defied the boundaries of physics. And what I mean by that is to be asleep for a couple of hours and to have dreams that lasted more than a lifetime. Epic, never-ending, long-living lifetimes. And I would wake up with the full emotional sensation of the person that I had been in that lifetime of a dream. And over again, I would have these dreams, and I was gaining all the wisdom from all of these lifetimes at the age of 4 and 5 years old. And my dad wasn't much help. When I asked him about it, my grandfather wasn't much help. When I asked him about it, these men, in some ways, fancied themselves to be Christian, spiritual men, but to me, they just seemed like atheists. They seemed just so hollowed out of all actual spiritual belief that I could not turn to them for wisdom, for guidance. And I was thinking about this very subject. At about the age of 6. As my family talked about possibly moving to New Zealand. I mean, back to New Orleans, back to America. Back to Newfoundland. The tiny island of Newfoundland. Yeah. North and South Newfoundland. Now known as America. Nova Chrysala. The very idea of Christ has been lost to modern man. Because everything I just said sounded crazy. This used to be a relatively common occurrence for children. Probably still is, just nobody knows what to tell them, how to guide them. Maybe in the Far East they still do, maybe not. Maybe they embellish fanciful thoughts and confuse simple dreams with dreams like these, but if you've had dreams like these, there's no mistaking them. You, in my opinion, are a reincarnated being. But then again, I believe in silly things like psychic powers. You see, to tell me I'm not a psychic is like someone telling you you can't smell, or you can't see, or you can't hear. You can't taste anything. Everything you've tasted has just been a delusion. Everything you've ever smelt has been wrong. Everything you've ever seen has been an illusion. Everything you've ever heard, an auditory hallucination. You see, when somebody sees something, you don't know if you're seeing it, except for the process of, as a child, and while you were developing into a human being, from a puppy. You said, what color is that? That color is blue. And you could see another thing that was blue, and you could point it out. That's blue too? Yes, that's blue too. What color is that? That's green. Green? Is that green too? Yes, that's green too. And you learn what soft is. You learn what hard is. You learn what up is. You learn what down is. You learn what loud is. You learn what quiet is. You learn how to sing notes. And if you could not sing these notes, if you could not resonate in harmony with other human beings, you would not know that you could hear. You would not even know that you could speak. It is harmony that allows someone to perceive from all of their senses. Harmony with other human beings. I know that you're looking at fish tanks right now, because I grew up pointing at colors and saying, what is that? Just like I grew up pointing at fish and corals, starfish and anemones, saying, what is that? And some starfish are hard and spiky, and some anemones are soft and squishy. And corals will skin your knees. While you're trying to surf. They will just take the skin right off of your knees, sometimes your feet. Sometimes your whole shin. You're just trying to catch a wave. That's a coral reminding you, don't fuck with me. You need me. Because it's the one that makes the wave breaks. Because it's the one that makes the waves break like that to begin with. And so many other vital parts of nature. But that subject's best left for other videos. It has been. So to tell me, for instance, that I can't hear a thought or see the future, it's like me telling you you're not looking at fish tanks right now. And the sound that you're hearing, it's not my voice. This is just a well-tuned fart. Had you fooled, didn't I? You didn't know my asshole had teeth and a tongue. How would you know? You can't see me. I could be sitting entirely upside down right now with my pants around my head. Literally talking out of my ass. But you know I'm not, because there's a commonly understood notion that people can't really talk out of their asses. That's just something people on TV do far too much. Dingo, cut it out. You're making it worse. Messing with that thing above his eye. No, sir. Anyways. You see, when I was a boy, I knew I would be homeless one day. I knew everything was going to go relatively smoothly until I was 19. I had a fear of becoming a hunchback. I didn't know why, and I tried to strengthen my back and do exercises, and I became a stock clerk and tried to live by having a strong back, and was content to live my life in the grocery business. Oh yeah. My objective was to be Mr. Bob Camfice's successor. And he was a cool old guy. He was the general manager for all the different Bromarts. General grocery manager for that whole division of their sales. And he's the one who taught me that you really don't need more than 4 hours of sleep a day. And whether or not that's true, that notion helped me survive. And I look at being psychic like this. Whether or not it's true, it's a matter of perspective. But the fact that it has helped me survive means that you can't take it away from me. You have no rational means by which to doubt somebody else's personal experience when competently observed. And I can recount my experiences again and again because I've taken the time to reflect upon them. And I remember those countless decades worth of memory that I would still have when I woke up covered in sweat, experiencing the same emotion still as when I had left that state. It started when I was really 6 months old. And the way I had experienced my first memory wasn't as some sort of awakening from a dream, but it was more like traveling to this body from a dream. It was the first time I had ever been the little boy named Sean. And my consciousness didn't feel entirely bound to this life yet. Thank you for your kind, generous statement. My tanks don't actually look all that good, but for being just algae infested, they hold up pretty well. Nice and stable. Anyways, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever the hell you are. And welcome back to the Easy Reapers Fish Room. Good morning, Rolf. How are you today, sir? So I've been on kind of a never-ending lecture. Been playing Final Fantasy X. Started a new game. As you can see, I haven't gotten very far. I was just trying to kill time and was reflecting on the difference between the type of philosophy the creators of Final Fantasy have and the creators of Bleach and all the different wonderful Japanese art forms. And how close-minded and therefore unwise Westerners have become. One moment, please. I have to go get some free cigarettes from my car. Simba is no longer allowed in here because no matter what, he just does not want to use a fucking litter box. And he is a big cat to be pissing on a carpet. He can leave quite a spot. Like a small dog worth of piss. But anyways. Dingo! Dingo! Excuse me. Sorry about that. I've been trying to give Dingo a bath for like 5 days now. Probably longer than that. But every time I leave, even if I just took him outside, there seems to be a much higher risk these days of him just peeing on the carpet. Me being locked up for 9 days seems to have ruined his rhythm. Taking my pill. Like a good boy. Speaking of being locked up for 9 days. I got no problem taking these pills. All they do is fuck me up. It's just like being a little bit stoned all the time, basically. But yeah. It's nice having a house that stays clean. But man, I wouldn't trade what I had for anything. I was just trying to make our situation better. And the last person I expected was talking shit about me as if I was some lazy jackass. You see, it takes effort, a lot of effort, to maintain an interesting and entertaining train of thought on a live stream. Just like it takes a lot of effort to become somebody who can competently perceive the future or competently perceive things that no one else can perceive. It takes a lot of effort. And I think one of the reasons why perhaps governments came to see such people as possible threats to industrialized, pre-democratic party type societies, pre-liberalism societies, before fair pay, before minimum wage, before the 40-hour work week, before overtime rules, before worker safety laws. This was the time in which reincarnation was stamped out for the sake of making more docile workers. It had become basically taboo in the West. As the West found a whole new way of killing each other. Projectiles. They got tired of being shot at and decided to just join the party. And once the West started experimenting with combustion, they brought it to a new level. And then you had the Industrial Revolution, where mankind had basically all at once agreed to say fuck you to Mother Nature. Here's a riddle for you. If Mother Nature, as a general Disney-like concept, is simply a figment of modern man's imagination, and not a remnant of some ancient goddess, if Jesus wanted to, could he decide that he wanted to get married, he wanted to fall in love, and decide to rewrite history itself to make that figment of an imagination into an immortal, primordial goddess? I think Jesus could do exactly that. And who are you to tell Jesus what he can and can't do? Who is anyone to say that love itself is a sin? You gonna tell Jesus that if he comes back and makes a Match.com profile? Or would it be eHarmony? Would Jesus choose eHarmony or Match.com? Now that's a funny thought. Would he get frustrated with the never-ending survey questions? Or would he try to let fate decide and just represent himself? Speaking of which, maybe I ought to get a Match.com profile. Oh, fuck. I'm single again. Separated. Boy, I never thought this would be me, man. back when I was about 6 years old. And saw this face on the clouds. This old bearded man. Literally, the clouds, the same way my face appears on the clouds. Just a bunch of different things are shaped like different facial features. Only his was a full bust with the top of his robe showing. Almost as if he was seated on the cloud. And I was, if you point down to the right, if you were him, if you pointed down to the right, that's where I was, looking up at this face on the clouds. And at once, just as the profoundness of the times that I have conceived a child suddenly occurred to me. At once, it occurred to me. Just like when I woke up on 9/11 and knew something was wrong because I had the feeling of a fucking I-beam going through my chest. At once, I knew that the spirit that I was seeing on this cloud, the soul that was manifesting fractally or whatever, was not only that old man voice in my consciousness, that old guiding self that was unique to this life, not my previous lives, not my experience sitting on the tree, not my experience in the underworld as a boy, as a little tiny infant. That could walk and climb stairs. But unique to this life, to this body. This voice, I imagine, the same way you remember a song. Didn't hear it. If you hear voices, you need, like stronger meds than these. And I need more coffee. So hold on a second. Oh, I love it when a top off just goes perfectly. And it's like, oh, delicious again. Oh. Especially considering that I'm out of milk. Speaking of which, anybody who feels like supporting the channel and, me, Acadian Mariculture at iCloud.com. That's Acadian Mariculture. ACADAIAN. excuse me. It's too early in the morning for me to not be dyslexic. ACADIAN MARICULTURE @iCloud.com, on PayPal. So all at once, I knew two things, at least, about this guy that I was seeing. Three things. Easy. No one expects a Spanish Inquisition. I knew that, had a feeling that, wanted confirmation rationally, of course, but just kind of boom, hit me, and was forced to debate for the rest of my life what this experience meant with myself and occasionally with other people. In a lot of instances, this is the kind of thing you keep to yourself, I knew that it was a spirit manifesting through this visual artifact, this visual aberration. It was an apparition and an aberration. And I knew that that spirit was my own little fucking Jiminy Cricket. I literally had that comparative thought, because I was 6 years old in the 80s. Why is my Jiminy Cricket a grumpy old man? He sounds kind of like a fucking pirate. Yo ho. Literally, this is the voice. It's just me if I smoke pipe tobacco. And I'm beating around the bush here. I'm glad you're okay, man. I'm glad you didn't get too near death. This is more like a near-life experience, because I was just settling into this body, really. It took several years. That's my analytical conclusion, is that it took several years for my soul to actually unpack like a compressed file. But that's not the thing that I usually keep to myself. Until it came time to basically let my crazy out so I wouldn't get assassinated for being the first person to report on Russia. And I had plenty of crazy to give. Well, I knew all at once that that was John the Baptist. That face on the clouds. That I was down at the right hand of. In New Zealand. In my backyard. And if I could geographically pinpoint my location in my mind, it seems like the sun was to the west, and basically fractally that cloud was in between the sun and myself and the Middle East, or where Jerusalem is. That's the direction I was facing, in my backyard facing north. And I was down at his right hand. I remember exactly where I was. If that house is still there, I could stand in the spot. If those two houses were still there, because I had just walked in between the two houses where the four-leaf clovers were. The first miracle I ever seen in this life was a promise kept by little Catherine, Maggie, she liked to be called. And that Rod Stewart song, still to this day, is a mystery to me. I cannot hear the words to it. I need to look them up. There's probably something I need in there, hidden from me. One of the weird mental blocks that I suffer from. Always wind up being little bonus levels. There's always a reason why I can't understand what the fucking singer is saying. There was a lot of S's in that sentence. Would you like to buy a vowel? Why do you have to buy vowels? Fucking people are racist. Anyway. So yeah, I never thought I could possibly be the reincarnated John the Baptist until 2011. 30 years later. Just about. And it took some pretty profound, ridiculous events including many of which were caught on camera. Even the remnants of the temple and the whale cloud itself, caught on camera. Y'all have seen it. I've shared it. I know that shit happened. I don't know what happened. I just know that it happened. But I know that when I woke up and when I realized the key to unlocking all of those memories that I gained as a child was realizing that I was John the Baptist. The key to making sense of everything in this entire world was me realizing that I was John the Baptist. The way I spotted the Russians and all that they were doing, the way I still know more about what they're doing than our own government does, was just me realizing who I was, a reincarnated being. Whose name was Yachanun Mahatmagus Tiberius. Also known as Caesarion. Now maybe I'm completely full of shit, but as a scientist, my experiment has been 100% successful. Because I knew going into it, if I let these thoughts go, if I fail to disprove myself, if all of these things don't pan out, if all of this history I remember has no bearing in reality, if there is no evidence, is there an objective here? Well, the objective is clear: to save the world. And unfortunately for me, knowing how to save the world is as futile, or has been as futile, well, not entirely futile, but pretty much futile, as me trying to disprove who I was. From looking up whether Nothan Cox was a real baby boy that got born back when I said, okay, if you're really God and this is really my soul's name, and that's the secret name in Revelation, and it's just a little bit of a mistranslation, and this is how it's supposed to be. I think it's ridiculous. So to prove to me that it's not ridiculous, oh, quote unquote God, I want a kid to be born right now. And I looked him up, and there he was. The exact right age, Nothan Cox. And I looked up whether or not anybody had ever thought that John the Baptist was the real thing. And I had to look up whether John the Baptist had a college in Alexandria. And I had to look up whether or not he and his followers were exterminated by Romanesque soldiers. Because I remembered all of these things. I had no concept of them. I was raised Baptist. I went to an Assembly of God. I go to non-denominational evangelical type churches. Now I'm going to a Pentecostal church. And having been at an Assembly of God, you know, it's not that different. And it was relating not only my identity, but the very path by which civilization was made to forget my identity. That forced me to deal with who I was, and that revealed who our true enemy was. Because it was they who brainwashed civilization to the point where they could not recognize me when I returned. And they continue to do it. In every way that they corrupt religion, they blind people from seeing my worth. I've literally got a plan to give everybody what they want. Everybody. Everybody. Don't ask me to heal the sick, though. I'll just tell you to heal them yourselves. Because the same way you're just as psychic as I am, the same way you're just as reincarnated as I am, all I've done differently than you is form the discipline and put forth the effort to truly manifest myself. The difference between a delusional person and somebody like me is I don't consider myself any different from anyone else. Just older, wiser in some ways, profoundly stupider in others, but equal nonetheless. Just like so many other people, for every advantage, I have an ailment. But one of the key things about Christianity itself that has been lost, and it seems the root of Christianity being lost, ties into the ability of Christians to recognize me when I return being lost. The key tenet of Christianity once was reincarnation. Over and over again they talk about being reborn to live forever. Well, riddle me this. What the fuck would you do with eternal life? Do you fancy yourself a ruler over others? So what? What then would you do? Would you be a landlord forever? Would you be a business owner forever? What lofty position do you fancy for yourself, that you should presume to desire eternal life? Oh, how ye must have fallen to desire to be like the Most High. Consider the consequences, dearies. What exactly would you do with yourself once you had conquered the world with your immortal body? What would you do in competition with other immortals? How long would that be entertaining? 1,000 years? 2,000 years? 10,000 years? The very thought of living for 10,000 years makes me nauseous. I can tell you from experience, you don't want to go there. And be careful what you wish for, because if you don't set parameters and you just wish to live for 10,000 years, you'll get your wish, and your next life, you'll be a tree. But that's okay, because, you know, the world needs trees. And let's face it, a lot of people wish for immortality. A lot of people wish for very long life. That's all they wish for. I want to come back and I want to live a long, long time. Maybe they died very young. A lot of people do. But if that's all you wish for, you're going to be a tree. Maybe some sort of reptile. You want to know why? Because if there's one thing I know, regardless of my identity, is that there's no one better at being a smartass than God. That's the one superpower I think God reserves for himself, is just ultimate smartassness. I think there's a riddle and a joke between me and Gabriel in the beginning. Where basically the conversation was, well, how are you going to become mortal in a way that manifests a pattern that does not interfere? A pattern being an archetype. And me and Gabriel sharing the knowledge and experience of preternatural existence being trillions of years in existence. Both understood without these concepts having existed in this reality what I meant when I said, well, I'll just become the world's first smartass. To which he replied, smartass. And so it was written. So if you think I'm a smartass, please call me a smartass in the comments. How's it going, Mr. Conway? Monsieur Rolf is in the comments. Maybe that's the real meaning of the word Nothen. And the only reason why Nothen Cox was invented or conceived was to let me know that I am the ultimate smartass. And thus I shall suffer. Anyway. Don't get me wrong, I think there's funnier smartasses than me. But that's because they're just funnier. I think my Bankai as a soul reaper is the strongest form of the smartass Zanpakuto, basically. See, even that analogy was kind of a smartass analogy, which proves my point. See, I told you this medication fucks me up. Yes, I'm not only taking my medication. I hope they don't cancel this one. What the fuck am I gonna do? Get a refill soon, actually. But not only am I taking my medication, but every opportunity where I'm on camera during the right time, I'll take the fucking medication on camera. Isn't that special? You think you can medicate me out of my memories? You think you could medicate me out of the verification process I went through? Everything from random college history, fucking little websites, to gnosis.org. To endless conversations with Mr. Conway. I'm pretty sure I've verified with Mr. Conway, who studies the very culture I was a part of, that I, not knowing much of shit about it from this lifetime, if he takes me at my word, am pretty much verified as a reincarnated person from that culture. Especially when it comes to randomly speaking in the fucking language. But just like psychic abilities, just like the ability to see and touch and taste and feel and hear, one cannot truly know these things are accurate unless you have a community of people in which to verify them as you develop. Your reincarnate memories, you get told it's just your imagination when you're a kid, and kids come up with these wonderfully random ideas that just come out of nowhere, and they get ignored. And you can see the depth in that child's eyes. You can see the knowledge and the power that's hidden there, just waiting to become who they are. But we don't tell them, we don't guide them, we don't let them know. Those dreams you're having, those daydreams you're having, they seem real because they might be. That doesn't mean that they are. Just know that you have to figure out a way to distinguish, to determine which ones are and are not real. Is there a lesson there learned that reality needs to learn? Other than, does it make sense, or was there some giant pom-pom monster chasing you across stacks of mattress in a never-ending hallway? Yes, I had that dream. I always thought pom-poms were kind of creepy. Cheerleader pom-poms? Yeah. Yeah, I had 3 older sisters. I'm pretty sure only one of them wasn't a cheerleader at some point. Anyways. Well, I think I've made my point, and although I'm not going to end the broadcast here, I probably should. But if you're watching this in the future, this concludes the lecture portion of the broadcast. And now we're going to go towards some ambient hangout and random chats, and I hope everybody enjoyed the lecture, and I hope you learned something, and please click the like button if you haven't already. So anyways. Oh, hey, Mr. Conway, speaking of channel type stuff, I've managed to reapply for monetization because I still have like 5 times the requirements. Let's see if they actually give it to me. I thought of an interesting riddle proposition type thing, if you will. If John the Baptist was the true Messiah, and the true Christians believed in reincarnation, and John the Baptist was even, and the spoiled marriage thereof was Caesar and Cleopatra, and then perhaps again with a betrothed princess who would be executed publicly for adultery. And speculated about that she was the goddess Yazoo. Y-A-Z-U. And then a nobility arose in the lands that they were from, Gaelic lands. The former territories of Gaul and the Celtic or Magdalenian Empire. An advanced civilization that chose to live a different way. You could learn a lot of math with sticks and stones, let me tell you. Just no one would ever know that you taught it. And the royal families that arose in this area, the last area to be conquered by their enemies, claimed divine rule, that they were descendant from Christ by blood somehow. It doesn't make any sense unless you consider the whole Merovingian myth. It doesn't make any sense unless you consider that Christ and Mary had a child. Before she, like her mother, was executed. Oh, there are many stories. There are many fabrications. There are plans within plans and lies within lies within truths. Those aren't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, what does it mean if divine rule is real? What does it mean if reincarnation is a secret that nobility still keeps, or at least did keep for a while? And who does that make? Maryland. Speaking of which, what is my wall? If there's anything, give me a panic attack. It's not being able to find this. The fact that I found this leaves my ex-wife, not my current soon-to-be ex, leaves my ex-wife in astonishment. The fact that I still have this is a miracle. This is the weapon of a Jedi. No, that's just me fucking with whoever just logged on. Now, what I used to do is put a crystal in here. And there was basically a light bulb and a set of leads. And it harnessed the power of imagination. I was just thinking that. Well, my spirit energy has been known to fuck up devices. Let me just plug in just to make sure. But let's go ahead and get a... Yeah, I was trying to find the brightest one. I have never, ever, ever modified this in any way. It is just a stick. That's how that medication makes me feel. Like a goldfish. I think what's really mad is that fucking pyramid that's the upper and lower pyramids, which ties into my dreams. This thing is physical proof, to me at least, of who I am. Wasting a cigarette. But it's also proof to my ex-wife. Who has graced us with our presence in the comments once recently. And she's, I mean, just completely detached from the situation. There's no reason why she wouldn't just call bullshit on me. Believe me, she's the type. Why do you think the Renaissance was the Renaissance and was called the Renaissance and was so known by its immortal art forms? Renaissance meaning rebirth. You want to have a Renaissance, America? You better believe in Renaissance. Try that again. Horrible. You know what I'm doing wrong? I'm re-gripping it. Perfect. Misha, what you doing? Hey, honey. Misha. Where's your sisters? I don't know either. Where's your sisters? Ow. That's my flesh. Ow. That's no, really. My flesh. Where's your sisters? I don't know. Misha. Come on. Come on. I'm not going to force her up. She's waiting until I stop paying attention. It's kind of her thing. She has to pounce when the moment is right. Don't fuck with that cord, Misha. Dingo. Cut it out. Oh, I know. right? Just reading your comment there, Mr. Conway. Indeed. Mr. Conway says, for those of you who can't see it, uh, they've been convinced rebirth is some other nonsensical idea that is never understood. Misha, cut it out. You're killing the couch. Cut it out. Sheesh. Here, come claw this thing. Claw that. Anyway. That sounds about right, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, I need to get on to a place where I don't think they do believe in reincarnation. But nonetheless, I always like to get grounded in lessons that get taught, and I enjoy the music and the serenity of praise and giving thanks to something greater. Define it as you will. And go to a church and just let it be whatever they're talking about, and just give into it. Yeah, for the most part. But I'm thinking about stopping by a different church today, one that my mom went to, and just seeing what it's like nowadays. Anyways, for now, I'm gonna let my phone charge because I gotta get dressed and go somewhere, and my phone needs to be charged. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Hope you don't think I'm a crazy person. I just experiment with being a crazy person because of some interesting data I've observed. Yes. Where's my goatee? I don't have a goatee anymore. I can't stroke a beard that isn't there. Well, I can just pretend. There we go. Just stroking my imaginary beard. It's just not the same. I'm not that talented, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. Don't forget to click the like button and support us at AcadiaAmericulture at iCloud.com on PayPal. And make sure you're subscribed if you're not a subscriber. Check your subscription if you are a subscriber to make sure it hasn't just disappeared for no reason, just like this video is about to.